My co-wife never in a million years thought that something as small as splashing a glass of cold water on me for her first love would end with me asking for a divorce. She definitely never saw it coming that I'd flip the script and marry her friend enemy instead. It all kicked off when I accidentally dropped a bowl during one of our cold, silent treatments. Chloe instantly broke down, full-on tears, totally losing it. Do you have any idea Julian and I picked that bowl together on our trip to Woodstock on August 23rd, 2015? Who said you could even touch it? Are you seriously this useless? I was right on the edge of snapping, but instead this weird calm hit me. I walked out, called my assistant, and told him to draft the divorce papers. I knew damn well it wasn't about the bowl itself. It was because Julian bought it. Half the stuff in our kitchen screamed his name, and this heavy, helpless feeling crushed me. Anytime Julian came up, Chloe completely lost it. Hysterical, almost unhinged. She and Julian were childhood sweethearts, glued to each other since forever. Their families had even promised them to one another. If life hadn't pulled a fast one, they would have gotten married for sure. And me? Ethan Hayes. I was just the guy crushing on her from the sidelines, watching it all go down. Life's messy though. 3 days before their wedding, Julian died in a car crash. Chloe was shattered. If her parents hadn't begged her on their knees to keep living, she would have followed him. Later, she came to me, begging. Even now, I can still see the pain and desperation in her eyes. Help me forget him, please. I felt like I'd hit the jackpot. I was sad Julian died so young. Yeah, but I couldn't kill the thrill of finally having my shot. We got married fast. For 8 whole years, I busted my ass trying to make her love me. Nothing worked. I gave a bitter little smile and didn't even bother explaining myself. She could remember the exact date Julian bought a random bowl, but she forgot my birthday. The burn on my hand felt like it sank straight into my soul before going numb. I looked at her, calm in a way that didn't feel normal. We've been married 8 years, I said. So let's give it 8 more chances. If even once, just once, you put me before Julian, I'll keep going. Chloe frowned, totally confused. Before she could say anything, the doorbell rang. The specialist to fix the bowl had arrived. My question vanished from her mind as she rushed to the door. I stood there, frozen, watching her walk away. That's one, Chloe, I thought. You have no idea how close I am to done. Once divorce crossed my mind, I started reviewing my assets and had a preliminary settlement ready. I began untangling business ties. I run Hayes Corporation, and Chloe's with the Vance Group. After 8 years, our companies were deeply mixed. A divorce would mess up stocks and partnerships big time. I had to play it smart. I also felt like I owed her parents a heads up. After the fight, Chloe took the repaired bowl and stayed with her best friend. Her parents didn't even know we'd argued again until I showed up. When I mentioned divorce, Mrs. Vance looked shocked. Ethan, are you really sure? I want to try one last time, I said with a faint smile. If we still can't make it work, then I guess it just wasn't meant to be. Mrs. Vance knew all about her daughter's obsession with Julian. Guilt crossed her face, but she sighed, knowing there was nothing she could say. After I left, they called Chloe home. She finally realized what I meant by 8 chances, but she wasn't even fazed. She actually found it funny. He wants a divorce? No way. She didn't believe it. She thought I loved her the same way she loved Julian, like I'd give my life for her. How could I ever leave? Still, she admitted she'd gone too far, and only later remembered it had been my birthday. Feeling guilty, she ordered a small cake, made me lunch, and picked out a new tie from Bloomingdale's. Then she showed up at Hayes Corporation Tower. When I got back from a meeting, I found my runaway wife knocked out on my desk. She looked up when I entered, eyes lighting up. Honey, you're back. She rushed over, grabbed my hand, and started apologizing like crazy. I'm so sorry. I was awful. You know how I get when it's about Julian. I just lose it. She tugged my sleeve. I was wrong. Please forgive me. When she begged like that, flushed face, guilty like a kid, it was hard to stay mad. And honestly, she wasn't a bad wife when Julian wasn't involved. She cooked, bought gifts, traveled with me, planned surprises, and never hit our marriage. That's why I held on for 8 years. Why I couldn't let go. I sighed and took her hand. There's a charity gala next week. I need a date. Of course, she said immediately. Gala night came. Chloe was home in a stunning couture gown, waiting for her car. I was still at the office and planned to meet her there. At 5 o'clock, she got a call from an unknown number. Chloe, it's Leo. I just landed at JFK. Can you pick me up? Her surprise turned into excitement real quick. It's really you? I'll be right there. She bolted out, forgetting her promise to me like it was nothing. Sir, my driver said later. Mrs. Hayes picked someone up from the airport. They went to a hotel. I stood alone at the edge of the ballroom, staring at the photo he sent. My wife, who was supposed to be with me, was hugging a young man at the airport. It was Leo Croft, Julian's younger brother. It was always Julian. I couldn't compete with a dead man, or anyone connected to him. I felt stupid for still hoping. I sent her a flat, emotionless text. That's 2. She didn't get home until midnight. Lights were on, but I wasn't there. She wondered if I was mad. Usually I'd wait no matter what. She found me reading and sighed in relief, wrapping her arms around me. I'm sorry. Leo flew in, friends threw a welcome party, and I lost track of time. I didn't make things awkward for you, right? I smelled wine and gently pushed her away. No, just the opening dance meant for us went to another couple. I had to deal with the whispers. No big deal. She started asking about my text when her phone rang. One look at the caller ID and she forgot me completely. I'll be right there. I grabbed her wrist. There's a hidden camera in Leo's hotel room. That's for the police, I said coldly. But he's Julian's brother. I was speechless. For safety, I drove her myself. Chloe, I said, that's 3. She didn't hear me. Ethan, faster. At the hotel, Leo looked just like his brother. Handsome, grim. Chloe, and you are? My husband, she said dismissively. She fought the hotel staff like a warrior for him. I stood back, watching. I hear she's never gotten over my brother, Leo said quietly. What do you think my chances are of stealing her? You can't lose what was never yours, I said calmly. Don't cry to me when she's mine, he sneered. Good luck, I replied. We went home after everything was settled. Honey, she said, Leo's having an art exhibition. Can you come? I laughed, bitter and tight-chested. I'm not that generous. But he's Julian's brother. That's the problem. I slammed the brakes, eyes red under streetlights. The silence was heavy. The days after were cold. She ignored me and focused on helping Leo. He'll get over it, she said. Day 5. Sir, my assistant said, here are the PR strategies for the divorce. Then he burst back in. Mr. Hayes, the gallery where your wife is, it's on fire. My blood ran cold. When I got there, thick black smoke filled the sky. The left wing was engulfed in flames, chaos everywhere. I was desperately scanning the freaking out crowd for Chloe, but she was nowhere in sight. Then I spotted Leo, covered in soot, and grabbed him hard. Where is she? I demanded. His eyes flicked away. She's still on the 4th floor. My heart straight up dropped. No hesitation. I bolted right back into the burning building, shoving past the wave of people evacuating. I made it to the 4th floor and found her stumbling around, trying to save a painting from the wall like her life depended on it. She looked shocked to see me. Ethan, what are you doing here? I grabbed her arm. The fire's about to hit this area. We need to go. Now. She yanked her hand free and ran deeper into the gallery. I can't. Julian's last painting is in there. If it burns, it's gone forever. I watched her charge straight into the smoke, my eyes narrowing. I stepped in front of her. I'll get it. As I brushed past her, I muttered, Chloe, that's 4. But in all that chaos, nobody heard me. Julian's painting was dead center in the exhibit, right where the fire was already going wild. I soaked my jacket with water from a fire hose and ran in to grab it. Just as I was heading out, a huge glass display case tipped over and slammed down on me. A white-hot pain shot through my body. The painting slipped from my hands and I went down. A second later, someone rushed past me and snatched the painting off the floor. Once she saw it was safe, Chloe finally let out a breath and turned to me. Ethan, are you okay? I didn't say a thing. Smoke, pain, whatever it was, my eyes were burning like hell. I flinched away from her touch and forced myself up. I'm fine. Just keep your painting safe. Just like that, she hugged the canvas to her chest, guarding it like treasure. A cold, twisted irony hit me as I helped her out of the building, blood dripping from my arm and leaving a dark trail behind us. I don't remember blacking out. When I woke up, I was in the hospital, and Chloe was sitting by my bed, eyes red and swollen. The second I opened my eyes, she lunged forward. Honey, how are you feeling? You lost so much blood. I thought you were going to die. Tears poured down her face. I'm so sorry. This is all my fault. I didn't know what to say. I was just exhausted. Her worry was real. Her guilt was real. But it was also real that she had never, not once, chosen me over Julian. Her love for him was like molten lava, burning, intense, and leaving me scarred every single time. If I could turn back time, I never would have married her. I stayed quiet, and she probably thought I was too weak to talk. She gently tucked the blanket around me. Honey, get some rest. I'm going to check on Leo. He got hurt too. That's 5. I opened my eyes. She froze, locking eyes with me. After a moment, she caved. Okay, I won't go. I'll stay here with you. Later, when she thought I was asleep, she quietly grabbed her purse and slipped out anyway. In that room, the man who was supposed to be sleeping slowly opened his eyes. My injuries were bad. I had a fractured shoulder blade that needed surgery, and I'd be stuck in the hospital for at least a month. Chloe split her time between home and the hospital, but most of it she spent in Leo's room, saying he was all alone and needed someone to take care of him. The pain eventually faded into pure numbness. I didn't say anything, just focused on healing and staying silent. About 3 weeks later, my assistant wheeled me to the cemetery. It was the anniversary of my parents' death. Every year, Chloe always came with me to visit their graves. But that day, from sunrise to sunset, she never showed up. Looks like I might be on my own again soon, I said softly, wiping dust off their portrait with a small smile. Maybe being alone's better. At least it won't hurt this much. Just as I was leaving, Chloe finally appeared, holding a bouquet of fresh lilies. I'm so sorry, Ethan. Leo spiked a high fever, and I panicked. I completely forgot about the anniversary. Why didn't you remind me? Are you a doctor? I cut in calmly. Are you related to him? What is he to you? She started to speak. But I cut her off again. Are you going to say he's Julian's brother? She hesitated, then nodded. But I don't like Julian, I said, staring straight at her. I don't like him, and I don't like anything or anyone connected to him. So why do you think I should just understand every time his name comes up? Chloe, that's 6. The 6th time since I started counting that she chose him over me. Only 2 chances left. At this rate, I thought bitterly, the end was coming fast. Chloe looked stunned, like she was seeing her husband for the first time. Her eyes slowly reddened, then tears spilled out. Ethan, you're being cruel, she choked. I didn't reply. I just lowered my gaze. I'd held those words in for way too long, and letting them out felt like dropping a massive weight. I even managed a small, bitter smile. Crying, Chloe turned and ran. By the time she got to her parents' house, she was a mess. She knew she'd forgotten the anniversary, but she rushed over as soon as she remembered. She made a mistake, but wasn't he wrong too? He hadn't reminded her. He hadn't waited. She never thought Ethan would confront her like that, in public, at a cemetery. He was never like this before. She knew he hated Julian, sure, but he'd never blown up over it. Lately, though, he was different, always pushing back whenever Julian came up. This was the 2nd time he snapped. There's nothing going on with Leo. Why is he so obsessed with competing with a dead man? Am I not good to him? She sobbed. Her parents hesitated. They wanted to gently remind her that remembering an anniversary like that was her responsibility. But she was too wrapped up in feeling wrong to hear it. Seeing their only daughter crying, even knowing she messed up, they still called me. Ethan, dear, would you like to come over for dinner? I made that vegetable soup you like. Chloe's here too. You can go home together afterward, Mrs. Vance said carefully. After a pause, I replied, I can't, Mrs. Vance. I'm being discharged this afternoon, and I've got a mountain of work waiting at the office. Chloe's face went pale. She hurled a couch pillow in anger. Then just stay away forever. It was a tantrum, but her mother knew the truth. 8 years had worn my love and patience down to nothing. I was ready to let her go, but Chloe still didn't see it. After hanging up, I placed the lilies she shoved into my hands in front of my parents' headstone. I could still hear her crying faintly through her mother's phone, and for a moment, I felt disconnected from everything. I don't think I'd ever hurt her that badly before, but was she really the only one hurting? I wasn't made of stone. A cold, mocking thought crossed my mind as I turned my wheelchair and left the cemetery. That afternoon, my assistant handed me the discharge papers. Everything's set. I nodded. Let's go. As we headed out, a mocking voice stopped us. Leaving already? Why not enjoy the hospital a bit longer? I looked up and met Leo's openly hostile stare. I hear today's the anniversary of your parents' death, he said with a smirk. Sorry about that. Chloe was busy taking care of me. Guess she forgot all about you. Hope you didn't wait too long. My face went ice cold. My assistant stepped forward, hand on Leo's shoulder, but I stopped him. My voice was steady, cold. Instead of wasting time provoking me, try improving yourself. What do you have besides a face that looks like your brother's? Compared to Julian, Leo was a nobody, no business sense, no talent, nothing. He even needed Julian's name to get an exhibition. And like most failures, he hated being reminded of it. His face twisted, then he laughed darkly. And what about you? You've got the family, the money, the status, everything. But do you have her heart? He pointed at his face. All I need is this. Before I could react, he glanced sideways and suddenly lunged forward. My assistant kicked out on instinct, sending Leo flying. At that exact moment, Chloe's furious voice echoed down the hall. Ethan, what do you think you're doing? She'd been angry at me, but knowing I was being discharged, she came anyway. She never expected to see my bodyguard attacking someone. She dropped the roses and rushed to Leo, glaring at me. Ethan, you're way out of line. I didn't even argue. Call the police if you want. Leo quickly waved it off. No. Chloe, I'm sure Ethan didn't mean it. I'm fine. He winced dramatically, clutching his back. Out of her sight, he shot me a smug look. Who do you think she believes? Chloe's face hardened. She shot me a freezing glare, then forced a smile for Leo. Come on, let's get you to urgent care. Thanks, Chloe, he said, flashing me a look of victory. I ignored him. His little games were nothing compared to how easily Chloe had just betrayed me. If she trusted me at all, his act wouldn't have worked. But when it came to Julian, or anything connected to him, she always chose the other side. I watched them leave, then looked down at the roses scattered across the floor, petals shaking loose in the breeze, barely hanging on, just like our marriage. Silently, I counted. That's 7, Chloe. After that, everything went ice cold. Chloe refused to come home. I started sleeping at the office. A month in the hospital had wrecked my schedule, so I worked nonstop to catch up. Life doesn't pause just because yours is falling apart. One day, my private IM buzzed. It was a photo of Leo and Chloe together, sent by Leo, then deleted almost instantly. A minute later, his Facebook post popped up. Thanks to Chloe for taking care of me while I was sick. The picture showed him in a hospital bed, Chloe spoon-feeding him soup. Way too intimate. I looked at it and felt nothing. I knew she only ever loved Julian. The rest of us were invisible. But that belief wouldn't last much longer. After 2 straight weeks of grinding overtime, I finally caught up. I went for a follow-up appointment. Recovery was on track, but I needed daily physical therapy. That's when I decided to go home. I couldn't live at the office forever, and we had a fully equipped gym perfect for rehab. But when I opened the front door, I froze. Right there, in the middle of our living room, my wife was kissing another man. Hearing the door, they slowly turned. Chloe's eyes were still hazy with desire, until reality hit and the color drained from her face. She shoved Leo away and stared at me. Ethan, I turned to leave. Panicking, she chased after me and grabbed my arm. Ethan, please, let me explain. I stopped. Explain. Her face was ghost white. I thought he was Julian. That's why it happened. I let out a dry, humorless laugh and gestured at Leo. So if Julian were actually here, you'd be kissing him? Sleeping with him? Have you forgotten you're married? She couldn't meet my eyes. And in that moment, I realized how stupid I'd been. All Leo needed was his brother's face. I'd never felt so completely defeated. I pressed a hand to my chest. I thought I was numb. So why did it still hurt this bad? I gently pulled my arm free and walked out. Leo stepped in front of me, fake remorse all over his face. Ethan, I'm so sorry. I just have such strong feelings for Chloe. I dressed up like my brother to tempt her. It's all my fault. Don't blame her. It was ridiculous. I looked past him at Chloe, standing there pale and silent. A sarcastic smile crept onto my lips. He looks like Julian, so you mixed them up? I said, pointing at Leo. This dude is a shameless, manipulative, bargain bin knockoff of his brother, and you actually fell for it. Or maybe, I added, my voice going ice cold, Julian was just as low, twisted, and manipulative as his little brother. And that's why you can't tell them apart. My answer earned me a sharp, burning slap across the face. My head snapped to the side, the metallic taste of blood flooding my mouth. The panic in her eyes vanished, replaced by pure, blazing hatred. Don't you dare talk about Julian like that, she hissed, her voice freezing cold. She looked like she wanted to kill me. I shut my eyes. The sting on my cheek was nothing compared to the pain crushing my heart. That's it, Chloe, I thought. It's over. For half a second, panic flashed across her face. A sudden fear that she was about to lose something forever. But it was swallowed instantly by a tidal wave of rage. She was shaking, completely out of control. She had long forgotten what my 8 chances even meant. If she remembered it all. She didn't care. Ethan apologized to Julian's memory, she demanded, her eyes burning. Even now, he was all that mattered. The taste of blood lingered. I tried to smile, but my eyes burned with tears. Finally, I said the words I'd been holding in for far too long. Chloe, let's get a divorce. She froze for a second. Then, drowning in anger, she made the worst decision of her life. Fine. No one insults Julian. Not even my husband. I wiped the blood from my lip as the word divorce left my mouth. It was like a switch flipped, and every emotion shut off. Without a word, I pulled the divorce papers from my briefcase. Sign it. She didn't question why I already had them. She just signed, cold fury radiating from every inch of her, and walked away. I didn't follow. Leo lingered. He leaned in and whispered, "You were easier to break than I thought." I looked up at him. "Get out." The raw rage in my eyes made him flinch. He backed off fast and scrambled away. I stood there in the yard for a long time, completely still. Eventually, I went inside, found a cigarette, and lit it. The smoke made me cough, my eyes watering. I had insulted Julian on purpose, just to see if she'd choose our fragile marriage over her hysterical worship of him. The answer was obvious. He was a curse she lived under, and I was never going to break it. When the cigarette burned down to the filter, I started packing in silence. I was leaving the house to her, so I couldn't leave any part of myself behind. But 8 years is a long damn time. My life was everywhere in the home we'd built together. It took hours. The last thing I picked up was an old, tarnished metal keychain, the first gift Chloe ever gave me. My parents had just died in a car accident. My world had fallen apart. I was an orphan, an easy target. Those days were brutal. Relatives tried to cheat me out of my inheritance. Classmates avoided me. Old friends flipped on me. In that darkness, Chloe was the one who reached out. "Ethan Hayes, if nobody else will be your friend, I will. I've got your back." Her smile glowed in the sunlight. When she noticed me staring, she scratched her head, unclipped the keychain from her backpack, and handed it to me. 2 perfect dimples showed when she smiled. A friendship gift. That was the beginning of everything. I treasured that keychain for years. I stared at it for a long time before putting it in a box. Taping it shut felt like sealing away the heart that had loved her for over a decade. Once everything was packed, I took one last look at the house we'd shared for 8 years, then turned and walked away. I never looked back. I moved into a condo I owned downtown. I knew healing would take time, but the moment I chose to let her go, there was no turning back. Meanwhile, Chloe went back to her parents' house and destroyed everything I'd ever given her. Crystal figurines shattered. A pearl necklace snapped, beads scattering everywhere. Our wedding photos were ripped to shreds. Leo was secretly thrilled, though he pretended to stop her. "Chloe, please don't do this. It's my fault." She ignored him, grabbing our matching coffee mugs and smashing them against the wall. "What's going on in here?" Her parents shouted, rushing in. A sly look flashed in Leo's eyes as he stammered. It was Ethan. He said horrible things about Julian, and in her anger, Chloe signed the divorce papers. "What?" Mrs. Vance's face collapsed. She snatched the document and seemed to age 10 years as she read it. It had really come to this. "Chloe," she cried, grabbing her daughter's arm. "Stop this. Go talk to Ethan. If you go now, maybe you can still fix it." But Chloe's eyes were cold. "Don't talk to me about him." The next day, she locked herself in her ruined bedroom, clutching a photo of Julian, certain she'd never forgive me. On the 3rd day, she saw the signed agreement in the living room. Reality slammed into her. Her heart skipped, but she hardened instantly, tore it up, and tossed it. She messaged me, "Don't think you can scare me with this." She was convinced I needed her more than she needed me. On the 4th day, she pulled the shredded pieces from the trash, staring at the dense legal text, wondering how it all went so wrong. This wasn't what she wanted. We'd been giving each other the silent treatment for a month, the longest ever. When I didn't come crawling back, she decided to make up, but pride stopped her. So when Leo said he wanted to see one of Julian's paintings at our house, she brought him over. It was an excuse to check on me and maybe smooth things over. They both mattered to her. But when they arrived, I wasn't there. Afterward, Leo secretly changed into Julian's old clothes, ones Chloe kept carefully stored. He already looked like him, but dressed that way, it felt like Julian had come back. Everything spiraled. She kissed him. Then I walked in. She felt a flicker of guilt. Anyone would be mad seeing their spouse kiss someone else, but that didn't justify insulting Julian's memory. The kiss was her mistake, not Julian's. On the 5th day, she pulled herself together and went home, ready to apologize. She'd explained the kiss was a mistake, but I'd need to apologize too. She opened the door. Silence. Ethan? She called. It's Saturday. Is he working? She opened my study. Empty desk. No computer. No files. Panic hit. Ethan. She ran to the bedroom. All my things were gone. Was I really divorcing her? No, I wouldn't. She convinced herself I was just furious, forcing her to apologize. Like when she stormed out before, waiting for me to chase her. I loved her too much to leave. She called me. The ringing calmed her. She even smirked. How childish of him. If you really want revenge, you block someone. Then it went to voicemail. She froze. She tried again. Blocked. Her hands shook. She texted me. Ethan. Not delivered. Dread crushed her. She ran to my office. She didn't care about Julian anymore. She just needed me. At the desk, the receptionist stopped her. I'm sorry, Miss Vance. You need an appointment. I'm his wife. Mr. Hayes requested no interruptions, including you. And he's out of town. You didn't know? She couldn't speak. I used to tell her everything. Bring her gifts. Now she knew nothing. She waited in the lobby for 2 days. I didn't return. The waiting was torture. She wondered, had I felt this pain every time she walked out? 3 days later, she saw me. Is there something you need? The formality crushed her. Honey, I'm here to take you home. I stepped back. Chloe, we signed the divorce papers. She saw it then. I was done. Ethan, I never wanted a divorce. Just go home. My lawyer will contact yours. I walked away. She didn't follow. When Leo visited later, she was hollow, thin, broken. Chloe, what happened to you? She looked at him. One of the reasons her marriage was destroyed. I'm fine. What do you want? I found another one of my brother's paintings. Want to see it? Julian's art, still the one thing she couldn't refuse. But this time, the news didn't hit her with that usual rush. She just let out a low grunt, feeling wiped and too damn lazy to move. After a long, awkward pause, she finally dragged herself up. Fine, whatever, let's go. She figured they'd be hopping on a jet or something, but instead Leo drove her straight to a private room in a high-end downtown club. The second she saw a group of people already waiting inside, surprise flashed across her face, followed fast by irritation. I thought you were taking me to see a painting, she said flatly. I did you one better. I bought it for you, Leo replied, gesturing toward the main wall. He snapped his fingers. A spotlight flicked on, bathing an oil painting in bright light. Chloe's eyes went wide. It was Julian's painting of her, running through a field of wildflowers. The same one she'd been hunting down for years like a damn ghost. So, you like your present? Leo asked, stepping closer. She nodded, still completely locked in. Then it's yours, he said with a grin. A gift to celebrate your newfound freedom. At that, Chloe's face darkened. Leo didn't catch it and kept talking like he owned the room. Ethan was never good enough for you. You deserve way better. The others jumped right in. Ethan Hayes was basically your lapdog anyway. He was never in your league. The nerve of him, divorcing you. Who the hell does he think he is? You're better off without some disobedient mutt like that. You could have anyone you want. Then crash. Chloe had kicked the coffee table clear over. Her voice sliced through the chatter like a blade. Who the hell did you just call a dog? Dead silence. Her icy stare swept the room before she strode forward and slapped the loudest woman clean across the face. The woman screamed, clutching her cheek, too shocked, and honestly too scared, to fight back. Chloe didn't even spare her a glance. Her eyes locked onto Leo. Who told you I was single? Leo looked rattled. Chloe, don't be mad. You'd better remember your place before you pull something like this again. When Chloe was truly angry, nobody was safe. As the color drained from Leo's face, she went on, her voice low and dangerous. Ethan and I signed a separation agreement. We are not divorced. We are still legally married. And you dare trash him in front of me. She looked around the room. Even if we were divorced, Who the hell are any of you to talk about him like that? Silence again. Everyone there came from less powerful families. They'd shown up tonight hoping to suck up to a newly single Aries. Big mistake. Leo couldn't even speak. Being humiliated like this in public made his face burn. Chloe, he said, reaching for her arm. She shook him off and turned back to the room. Every single one of you, she said, venom dripping from every word. This isn't over. Faces went pale. The woman she'd slapped, the daughter of some corporate VP, finally found her nerve. She let out a sharp, mocking laugh. Aren't you the one who treats him like dirt? Why play defense now? Everyone in New York knows your real love was Julian Croft. She sneered. We only called Mr. Hayes a dog because that's how you always treated him. Like something you could summon or toss aside whenever you felt like it. Her voice grew harsher. Did you forget the Hayes family gala? When you lost it over Julian and stormed out, leaving Ethan to clean up your mess. You're the one who cheapened him. So who exactly are you fooling with this loyal wife act? Disgust twisted her face. None of us would have said a word if we weren't trying to get on your good side. Any woman would be lucky to have a man like him. But he was stupid enough to fall for you. You're the one not good enough for him. He's divorcing you, and you've got nobody to blame but yourself. Now it was Chloe's turn to go pale. Each word hit like a punch. No, I didn't, she whispered, shaking her head, but the sentence died in her throat because she knew it was all true. The words cracked something open. Memories came flooding back. The gala where she'd accidentally damaged a brooch Julian gave her, lost her temper, screamed at me in front of everyone, and stormed off, leaving me to drown in humiliation. The family dinner where a relative made a mild comment about Julian's art, and she exploded, insulting both the elder and me. Again and again. Public humiliation for Julian. Worse behind closed doors. As it all hit her, she staggered back, barely steady. Now she finally understood why I wanted a divorce. Julian had died at the peak of her love for him, and she couldn't let go. She expected me to just deal with it. And I had tried. I went to his grave with her, helped track down his art, bent over backward. It was never enough. She kept hurting me for him, over and over. Who could live like that? She collapsed to the floor, a sob catching in her throat. Hadn't she known all along? Deep down, yeah. But born rich, coddled by her parents, spoiled by Julian, and then by me, she'd rotted. Selfish, entitled, never once thinking how her actions wrecked others. She trampled my love because she knew it was there, and she pushed until nothing was left. In that private room, tears streamed down her face. She finally understood it wasn't Leo's fault, not even Julian's. It was hers. She'd thrown me away. She didn't remember leaving the club. When she finally snapped back to reality, she was standing outside my apartment building. She raised her hand to knock, but couldn't. It all boiled down to one thing. She hadn't cared enough, hadn't loved me enough, and she'd casually destroyed my feelings. Only now, after I left, did she realize she was the one who couldn't live without me. Memories of how she'd treated me slammed into her, one after another, draining her courage. Inside, I was working when my phone buzzed, a security alert. Someone was hanging around outside my door. I pulled up the camera feed. Chloe was huddled on the floor, silently crying. I watched for a bit, then closed the app and got back to work. At 10 o'clock, I checked again. She was still there. I frowned, but did nothing. At 11 o'clock, building security showed up. I rubbed the bridge of my nose, called her family's driver, then opened the door. Is there something you need? Startled, she looked up. Seeing me, she blurted out, honey. I pressed my lips together. Legally, we were still married, so I let it slide. What is it? She looked like a kid caught red-handed, eyes full of tears. Honey, I get it now. I understand why you want a divorce. I swear I'll never get mad over Julian again. I was selfish. I never cared about your feelings. I'll change. I swear. I love you. Please, can we not divorce? I was stunned. I never thought I'd hear that from her. Once, those words would have made me ecstatic. Now all I felt was hollow. I looked at her. You love me? Then what about Julian? She froze. I gave a bitter half-smile. Chloe, a heart's only so big. It can't hold two people. Conflict tore across her face. When I started closing the door, she grabbed my arm. What if I let Julian go? I didn't answer. I pulled out my phone and played a video. It showed her in her bedroom, smashing everything I'd ever given her. Leo had sent it. Some things, I said quietly, once they're broken, they can't be fixed. Even glued back together, the cracks stay. The light drained from her eyes. She wanted to explain, but there was nothing to say. She'd done it. She'd pushed me away. Tears streamed down her face. Ethan, please. Just give me one more chance. I'd seen her cry plenty of times, for Julian. This was the first time she cried like this for me. A bitter knot formed in my throat. After a long silence, I spoke. Chloe, I gave you 8 chances. Not 1. Not 2. 8. Her face went white. She'd never taken me seriously. She thought it was a joke. How had she used them? She screamed at me on my birthday over a worthless bowl. Abandoned me at a gala to meet Leo. Left me to die in a fire for one of Julian's paintings. Now the bill had come due. She couldn't even speak. We stood there. I said nothing else. When her driver pulled up, I turned, went inside, and shut the door. She watched it close. Even though I was only feet away, it felt like an unbridgeable canyon had opened between us. After the club disaster, news of our divorce spread fast. Luckily, I'd prepared. The impact on Hayes Corporation and the Vance Group was minimal. Business stayed clean and professional. But once the divorce became official, my family started playing matchmaker nonstop. Chloe kept trying to see me too. I got fed up and booked back-to-back business trips, just to breathe. First stop, Boston. A meeting with Reed Pharmaceuticals about a new cancer drug project. I'd reviewed their team, but when I walked in, there was a last-minute change. I didn't expect you in person, Mr. Hayes. A woman with a sharp chin-length bob extended her hand. To show how serious we are, they sent me. I'm Maya Reed, CEO of Reed Pharmaceuticals. Last-minute swaps were normal. I nodded and shook her hand. A pleasure. We sat. Talks began. Hayes Corporation planned to combine core tech with Reed's to co-develop a new oncology drug. We agreed on principle, but were stuck on money and profit splits. My personal life was a mess, but business never suffered. I don't talk much in negotiations, but when I do, it counts. Maya was just as sharp, commanding, quick-witted, a real opponent. By late afternoon, we reached a deal. After signing, her intensity eased. She tucked her hair back and smiled. Mr. Hayes, since you came all this way, let me buy you dinner. That was standard, so I agreed. But when we arrived, it was just us. I sent my team elsewhere, she said, pulling out a chair. There are things I want to discuss privately. Fair enough. I sat. While scanning the menu, I spotted someone nearby. Chloe, eyes red, face swollen. I sighed, rubbing my nose. She was so proud. Why was she following me like this? It didn't matter. I wasn't going back. 8 years had drained me dry. I felt free now. Maya noticed her too. I hear you and your wife are divorcing, she said casually. I looked away from Chloe. Yes. My appetite vanished. I'm sorry, I said. I need to handle something. Rain check. Maya smiled. Of course. Let's exchange numbers. We did. She left. I walked over to Chloe's table. She'd watched us talking, smiling, hands clenched tight. It was harmless, professional, but to her, it cut deep. If that small moment hurt this much, how must I have felt watching her love another man for 8 long years? By the time I reached her, her voice was barely a whisper. Honey, if I wasn't clear before, I said calmly, I'll be clear now. This divorce isn't an impulse. It was a decision I'd been thinking about for a long, long time. I wasn't going back. I wanted to move on with my life, and honestly, I thought she should too. I paused for a beat. Stop chasing ghosts, Chloe. With that, I turned around and walked away. Chloe started to follow me, but then she noticed Mia walking back toward us. Mia lifted her car keys. I'll give you a ride. That offer stopped Chloe dead in her tracks. Maya and I had literally just met. We weren't even close to being familiar enough for her to offer me a ride. But the other option was staying there and dealing with Chloe, and yeah, no thanks. Okay, thanks, I said. As Chloe watched us walk away together, her face hardened into something dark and obsessive. I'm not giving up, she muttered. Chloe, Leo's voice made her jump. She frowned. Are you following me? His smile slipped. No, of course not. Your parents were worried, so they asked me to check on you. Her expression softened a little. I'm fine. You can go. Leo bit his lip, but stayed where he was. Ever since that whole mess at the club, she'd been icing him out, ignoring all his apologies and his attempts to get back on her good side, mostly because he'd thrown that absolute disaster of a singles party. All the guests she'd invited had turned on him, and those people had been potential clients Chloe had introduced to him. They used to buy his art just to stay in her good graces. Now, his paintings weren't selling at all. His career was tanking, and here she was chasing her ex-husband like it was her full-time job. He'd thought she was in love with his brother. A flash of resentment crossed his face, but he softened his tone. Chloe, I was thinking about organizing another exhibition for Julian's work. What do you think? Before, she would have jumped at that. Now she just sounded bored. Maybe later, she said dismissively. Before he could push, she turned and walked off. She had to figure out how to get me back. Back in New York, with our deal finalized, Reed Pharmaceuticals suggested sending a delegation to tour our facilities. I didn't mind, but I was surprised when I saw that Maya herself was leading it. You're coming, Miss Reed? Usually, this kind of thing was handled by VPs or directors, not the CEO. Her being there meant I had to host her personally, no excuses. She just nodded and looked at me. Am I not welcome, Mr. Hayes? Not at all, I said. I was planning to take some time off, but I'll postpone. That evening, I arranged dinner for her and her team at a high-end restaurant. To properly welcome you, and to make up for the rain check, I said with a smile. And thanks again for the other day. We both knew exactly what I meant. She simply nodded. Of course, Mr. Hayes. By the end of dinner, things felt way more relaxed. We talked about everything, from our new partnership to the city's history. Then Maya suddenly said, I hear Trinity Church is beautiful. I was wondering if you might have time to show me. My hand froze midair. She hadn't said us. She said me. She didn't want a guide. She wanted me. Something weird stirred in my chest as I met her eyes. She looked perfectly innocent. My mother hasn't been well. I wanted to light a candle for her. I told myself I was overthinking it and agreed. That afternoon, we went to the church. She lit a candle, just like she said she would, and that was it. When we got back to her hotel, we said our goodbyes. Mr. Hayes, I hope this is the first of many collaborations between our companies, she said as she stepped out of the car. I'm very interested in your R&D capabilities. I nodded. As am I. Until next time. After my car drove off, Maya turned her attention to another vehicle parked down the street. A moment later, Chloe stepped out. She'd clearly been following us. Her face was pure fury. The two women stood facing each other on the hotel steps. Chloe's eyes were blazing. I wouldn't have pegged the CEO of Reed Pharmaceuticals as the type to shamelessly seduce a married man, she snapped. Maya stayed calm. Relax, she said coolly. I have no intention of crossing any lines, at least not until he's single. So yeah, she really was interested in me. A wave of panic hit Chloe. She clenched her fists. You won't get the chance, she hissed. Maya smiled. Funny. I hear you're still pretty devoted to a man named Julian Croft. So where does that leave Ethan? Before Chloe could answer, Maya's smile turned sharp. I don't know what my chances are, but people who want to have their cake and eat it too usually end up with nothing. With that, she turned and walked away, leaving Chloe standing there, pale and shaking. Chloe knew she had to act, and fast. The next evening, when I got home, she was waiting at my door again. I turned to leave. I figured if I ignored her long enough, her pride would kick in. But this time, she stepped right in front of me and held out a piece of paper. It was a sonogram. Honey, she said softly, I'm pregnant. The words hit me like a lightning strike. My brain just shut down. I stared from the ultrasound to her flat stomach. She touched it, blushing. I've been sick and exhausted, she said quietly. I went to the doctor, and they told me I was pregnant. 10 minutes later, she was sitting in my living room. I handed her a glass of water. Everything felt unreal. I'd never expected to be a father. Chloe was a professional dancer, super careful about her body, and she'd never wanted kids this early. That's why we were always careful, but nothing's 100%. The report said she was 10 weeks along. The timing fit. I was stunned, completely lost. Part of me felt happy, but our dead marriage twisted that feeling into something messy and painful. Could I still go through with the divorce? After a long silence, I finally asked, Are you going to keep it? It was her body, her choice. We're old enough, she said immediately. I want this baby. Her eyes were full of hope. Maybe we could postpone the divorce. I shook my head. If you don't keep it, I said carefully, I'll make sure you get the best care and a generous settlement. I took a breath. If you do have the baby, I'll support you, cover all expenses, and be an active father. But Chloe, I still want the divorce. 8 years had drained me. She'd hurt me too much. I still loved her, but I knew there was no future. She bit her lip, holding back tears, then switched tactics. I have an OB/GYN appointment tomorrow. Will you come with me? I agreed. She smiled and left. She didn't need to change my mind right away. Tom was on her side. And she had another move, public opinion. Once the pregnancy went public, the internet would handle the rest. After all, a kid needs a dad. The next day, I went with Chloe to her appointment. That same day, Maya was flying back to Boston. As she left her hotel, she asked my assistant, "Where's your boss?" "I'm sorry, Miss Reed. Mr. Hayes had a personal matter to attend to," he said with a bow. "He sends his apologies." Disappointment flickered across her face, but she said nothing and headed to the airport. She was already looking forward to seeing me again. Then a headline started trending. Chloe Vance pregnant. Fans urge Ethan Hayes to reconcile. When Maya saw it, the lipstick in her hand snapped, smearing red across her palm. Every word felt like a punch. Was she about to lose her chance again? She wouldn't accept that. If Chloe really was pregnant, it made sense I'd go back, but that decision was mine, not Twitter's. She called her assistant, then stopped. Something felt off. The articles were too similar. Too coordinated. "Never mind," she said. "Find out who's paying for these trends." It didn't take long. A B-list actress had funded it, Chloe's cousin. Maya forwarded everything to me, then called 5 minutes later. "Did you see what I sent?" she asked gently. "It might not be my place, but you should look into who's behind this, and maybe confirm if your wife is actually pregnant." I was shocked to see myself trending. I wasn't famous, and my first instinct wasn't to doubt Chloe. The woman I knew wouldn't stoop that low. I planned to ignore it, until I saw the screenshots. I called her cousin. "Chloe asked me to do it," she admitted. "She loves you. And with the baby, you can work it out." I said nothing. Just, "Don't tell Chloe we met." And I left. The sun was bright, but I felt ice cold. I'd been screwed over by business rivals plenty of times, but never by my own wife. I made a call. Find out if Chloe Vance is really pregnant. The answer made my blood freeze. Mr. Hayes, the doctor who signed the ultrasound, received a $2 million wire transfer from Ms. Vance last week. It appears the pregnancy was faked. I felt like I was hearing about a stranger. For 8 years, I tried to save her, to earn her love. But now I understood. The woman I'd loved died with Julian. What remained was someone obsessed and manipulative. I just refused to see it. When Chloe showed up again, smiling sweetly, asking me to take her to her appointment, the last bit of love I had vanished. "Honey," she said, reaching for me. I stepped back. She didn't notice. In her head, she'd already won. The only problem left was keeping the lie alive. "We have genetic screening today," she said brightly. "And Mom and Dad miss you. Let's have lunch." I didn't move. I just stared at her. Finally, she noticed. She faltered when she saw my eyes. Cold, distant, nothing like before. She almost stumbled back, like some ugly vibe had just smacked her out of nowhere. "Honey," she started, but I just stared at her, dead silent. And yeah, that silence. It rattled her way more than if I'd started yelling. It was like a blade hanging right over her head, ready to drop. The air got heavy, suffocating, and that fake smile on her face slowly locked up. She tried to speak again, but under my unblinking stare, not a single sound came out. Then, when the tension was damn near unbearable, I finally let it fall. "Chloe," I said flatly, "are you really pregnant?" Her pupils shrank in pure shock. Yeah, it sounded like a question, but my tone said it all. I already knew. She trusted me completely. I'd never gone digging on my own. So who tipped me off? Who was trying to blow her cover? Her eyes narrowed as someone clicked in her head. "Did Ma say something to you?" she snapped. "Honey, that woman's been trying to mess us up forever. You can't believe a damn word she says. Of course I'm pregnant. You came to the appointment with me. How could you believe her over me?" I frowned. Why was she dragging Maya into this? But honestly, I was done. Completely out of patience. "Chloe, we're finalizing the divorce tomorrow," I said, cutting her off. I held up my phone, showing her everything. "Or I release all of this to the press." She'd been dragging this out for weeks. This was my shot to end it, once and for all. My words crushed whatever hope she had left. Her lips shook as she tried to explain, her voice barely holding together. "Honey, I didn't mean to lie. I was just desperate to get you back. I love you." Her voice faded under my icy stare. Back in the day, she'd have been sure I'd forgive her. This time, she wasn't so confident. She couldn't figure out why every move she made to pull me closer just pushed me further away. "You don't love me?" I said, a bitter half-smile on my face that never touched my eyes. Nah, you just can't stand losing the guy who's done whatever you wanted for the last 8 years. If you really loved me, how could you hurt me over and over for another man? How could you throw away 8 chances? 8. When I was already hanging by a thread. She shook her head, tears pouring down. No, it's not like that. But right then, regret finally hit her full force. I looked at the woman I'd once loved like crazy. I'd laughed for her, cried for her, felt pure joy and straight-up agony because of her. Now, all that was left was this quiet, empty sadness. Chloe, I said one last time, let's end this clean. I'll see you at the courthouse tomorrow. But the next day, Chloe never showed. Instead, I got a call from the NYPD. Is this Ethan Hayes? Your wife is on the roof of the Grandview Tower. She's threatening to jump. This is critical. We need you here now. When I got there, crowds were packed on the street and on the rooftop. Chloe was standing right on the edge, swaying like one bad breath could send her over. Negotiators were trying to talk her down. Her parents were begging her, but she ignored all of them, staring straight at the ground. Then she saw me. Her eyes lit up. Honey, I was still catching my breath when I met her gaze. Chloe, what the hell do you think you're doing? Her face twisted with tragedy. Honey, I don't want a divorce. And this is how you plan to stop it? I shot back. By forcing my hand. I clenched my fists. I'd always known her love for Julian was intense. Obsessive, even. Part of me used to envy it. But having that obsession turned on me, it was suffocating as hell. Anger and disgust surged through me as I heard the crowd yelling below. Hey man, whatever she did, it can't be this bad. Yeah, dude, she's pregnant. You can't just ditch your family. Be a man. Take care of your wife. You trying to kill her? She's gorgeous. You'll never find another one. Chloe heard them, and hope flickered in her eyes. Honey, see? They want us to fix this. This was it. Her last move. Threatening death, backed by public pressure. She was betting I still cared too much to let her die. If that's what you think, I said calmly, then jump. The crowd went dead silent for a split second, then exploded. What the hell is wrong with you? Are you trying to push her off? Her dad lunged at me in rage. Chloe herself froze, stunned. Truth was, I was scared shitless she'd actually do it. I couldn't live with that. But the more fear and anger I felt, the colder I looked. I locked eyes with her. Jump. Her body wobbled. She grabbed the railing. The crowd gasped. Her mother collapsed. I didn't even flinch. I think I've been pretty clear, I said evenly. You think I still love you. That I'll get emotional and cave. But Chloe, you've spent weeks burning down whatever scraps of love I had left. Pulling this suicide stunt. That's just pathetic. If I don't love you, why would I care if you live or die? The words crushed her. She shook her head, pale as a ghost. Stop. Don't say that. I didn't stop. If you die today, maybe I'll feel a little guilty for a while. But I won't mourn you for 8 years like you mourned Julian. That guilt? It'll fade. I'll forget you. I'll move on. You'll just be another tragic, stupid memory. She couldn't believe it. I'd never been this cruel. But she forgot. I survived losing my parents and built an empire from the ashes. I was never weak. I was only soft with her because I loved her. Without that love, my heart was solid stone. Why won't you give me one more chance? She cried. You always forgave me, no matter what I did. Why not now? She screamed it. I stayed quiet for a long time. When I finally spoke, my voice was heavy with sadness. Because I finally realized I've spent 8 years loving the wrong person. I loved who you were back then, not the woman you became after Julian died. That was the cruelest thing I could have said. It erased our whole life together. She covered her ears and screamed, raw and broken, and let go of the railing. The crowd gasped. My hands were slick with sweat, but my voice stayed ice cold. Grow up, Chloe. Stop making a scene. I hope the next time I see you is at the courthouse, and that it's the last time. I turned and walked away without looking back. Behind me, she collapsed onto the rooftop, sobbing. She finally got it. It was over. He didn't love her anymore. Ending things peacefully was the last bit of dignity he was offering, and she'd been too arrogant to see it. I didn't go far. I waited in the stairwell until I heard they'd pulled her back. Only then did I breathe. Cold wind hit me through an open window, and I realized my back was soaked in sweat. Thank God it worked. If she'd jumped, I'd be branded forever as the guy who drove his wife to suicide. I let out a bitter laugh and headed downstairs, until someone blocked me. You're really not going back to her? Leo asked. You meant what you said? I ignored him. He meant nothing to me. Move. Anger flashed across his face. Before he could talk, my bodyguard grabbed him in a casual headlock. Sir, go ahead. I nodded and kept walking. My bodyguard patted Leo's cheek. What's wrong? Didn't learn your lesson last time? Leo winced, remembering the kick that still made his back ache. What do you want? He stammered. The cops are upstairs. My bodyguard sneered. Relax. I wouldn't dirty my hands on you. Once I was gone, he let Leo go, wiping his hand like he'd touched trash. Pathetic. Even if my boss divorces her, a coward like you won't ever have a shot. Leo shook with rage, but he knew it was true. He wasn't in her league. The Croft family had fallen off hard. He had no skills, no power. All he could do was paint, and he sucked at it. So if he couldn't rise to her level, he'd drag her down to his. Soon after I got home, I got a text from Chloe. I agree to the divorce. By 8 a.m. the next morning, it was official. I stared at the document, stunned, then relieved. I didn't look back at Chloe, hollow-eyed and silent. I walked straight into the sunrise, feeling reborn. I smiled. I'd already booked a flight. 2 hours later, I was gone. As the plane took off, a massive scandal about Chloe exploded on Twitter. My phone was off. I saw none of it. I landed in a small town in Italy, an artist's haven. The next morning, rested and free, I grabbed my camera. Then my phone rang. Ethan, Mrs. Vance sobbed. Chloe cut her wrists. They barely saved her. Please come see her. I checked Twitter. Her name was everywhere. Videos. Lies. The fake pregnancy. The manipulation. Sympathy turned to hate. It broke her. Mrs. Vance, I said quietly, she needs a doctor. Not me. We're divorced. I hung up. In the hospital, Chloe heard my refusal over speaker. For a moment, her heart monitor flatlined. I had no clue about any of this. That phone call straight up ended my chill vacation. Literally the next day, all hell broke loose with a major project, and I had to pack up and fly back home ASAP. Later on, I heard that Chloe had been discharged from the hospital, with Leo glued to her side the whole time. A mutual friend told me, watching my face like a hawk, trying to catch any kind of reaction. I heard it was Leo who found her and rushed her to the hospital. Another 20 minutes, and she would have been done for. Her parents were insanely grateful to him. Honestly, I wouldn't have been shocked if he ended up as the next Mr. Vance. I just gave a grunt. Seeing that I genuinely didn't care, my friend dropped it. A month later, Mr. Vance came looking for me. We met at a quiet cafe, and he didn't waste time beating around the bush. Ethan, I want you to remarry my daughter. My hand froze mid-pour as I was filling my teacup. You said this meeting was about the ongoing partnership between our companies. If this is personal, I don't have time. Besides, Ethan, she's not well. You're the only one who can bring her back. My patience was officially running on fumes. First Chloe, then her mother, and now her father. I wanted to walk out right then, but he was an elder I respected, someone who had helped me before. I forced myself to stay cool. Whether she gets better is up to her. There's nothing I can do. He shook his head. If you come back, she'll find the will to live. My voice went flat. I don't know how many times I need to say this. We're not getting back together. If that's all, I've got work. He knew if I walked out, that was his last shot. As I stood up, he clenched his jaw and played his final card. What if the Vance Group pulls out of the R8 project? I stopped dead. This wasn't a request. It was a threat. My expression hardened. My eyes went cold. When I spoke again, my tone was sharp and formal. Then I suggest you try it, Mr. Vance. The R8 project was the single most important venture for both our companies that year. Massive money, massive resources. The Vance Group owned patents for half the core tech. If they pulled out, my company would take a devastating hit. Of course, it would wreck his company too. I never thought he'd be willing to commit corporate suicide just to control me. I didn't say another word. I turned and walked out. Alone at the table, Mr. Vance let out a tired sigh and picked up his phone. Pull our teams and funding from the R8 project. Effective immediately. We're out. He knew it would cost his company a fortune, but he'd do anything to save his daughter, even if it meant total ruin. In that moment, he looked 10 years older. He went home and walked into Chloe's room. She lay on the bed like a lifeless doll. Her catatonic state had started 3 days earlier. Her parents had never liked Leo. He reminded them too much of Julian. But after he saved her life, their attitude flipped completely. They treated him like a hero. Leo was smug as hell about it. He had deliberately waited until she was on the edge of death before calling 911, making sure he earned her parents' eternal gratitude. All that was left was winning Chloe herself. He figured that by being the only one there during her darkest moment, he'd earn her trust and love. In his head, he imagined saying, "See, everyone else abandoned you, but I'm still here." In his fantasy, she'd fall into his arms, forever grateful and devoted. Reality didn't play out that way. She stayed cold and distant. Her heart was completely filled with thoughts of me, leaving zero space for anyone else, not even Julian. When Leo finally confessed his feelings, she had him thrown out and refused to see him again. He couldn't wrap his head around it. Even after everything, she still wanted nothing to do with him. In a blind rage, he blurted out a long-buried secret. "Who the hell do you think you are, Chloe? You think everyone's dying to be with you? If it wasn't for your money, the only person who would ever tolerate a lunatic like you was Ethan. And you tossed him aside for my brother." But here's the funny part. He sneered. "Did you really think Julian loved you? He was just like me. He wanted your family's fortune, not you." His words hit her like a white-hot blade straight through the heart. She grabbed his arm, gripping him like a vice. "What did you just say?" He realized he messed up and tried to pull away, but she wouldn't let go. In the struggle, she lost her footing and fell down the stairs. Leo was arrested later. Chloe survived, but she was left with a permanent leg injury. When she woke up, it was like her soul was gone. She became an empty shell and never spoke again. She couldn't face the truth. The love of her life had been a lie. The thought that she'd wasted 8 years hurting me over a fraud was agony, like her heart was bleeding out. My friends, knowing it was truly over between us, stopped bringing her up, so I had no idea what was happening with her. The Vance Group pulling out of the R8 project threw my company into chaos. I refused to cave to her father's blackmail, which meant I had to find a new partner fast. The problem was, only a handful of companies worldwide had the tech we needed, and the 2 biggest overseas players had already turned us down. Just as I was about to book a flight to Europe for a last-ditch attempt, Maya Reed walked into my office. "I hear you're looking for a new partner for R8, she said. "My team just made a major breakthrough. Thought you might want to collaborate." She slid a prepared contract across my desk. I read it. The terms were more than fair, no shady stuff at all. I don't hesitate when it matters. I raised an eyebrow and shook her hand. "Ms. Reed, thank you for the lifeline." "Just good business," she replied calmly. "You would have figured it out with or without me." News of our partnership spread fast. The Vance Group, meanwhile, was drowning in breach of contract penalties on top of their sunk costs. Mr. Vance, who never believed I'd find another partner, completely collapsed when he heard. Accused of sacrificing the company for personal reasons, the board unanimously forced him to resign as chairman. When Chloe heard, a single tear slid from her empty eyes. She finally stopped running from reality. It was like she'd finally grown up. She left the country with her parents to recover. Before leaving, she visited Leo in prison, where he confirmed her worst fear. Julian, the man she thought loved her more than anything, never loved her at all. The Croft family's fortune had been declining while the Vance Group was thriving. Julian had targeted her, his childhood friend, to secure his future. If he'd lived, he probably would have taken over her family's entire fortune. "Love, Chloe? Are you serious? I've known her since diapers. I was sick of her by 10. Julian's mocking words echoed in her head, a final brutal wake-up call. Chloe burned everything Julian ever gave her. The only thing she kept was the photo album of the 2 of us. 2 hours before her flight, she impulsively went to my apartment building, but couldn't bring herself to come upstairs. After everything, she was too ashamed to face me. She left the country without a word. I didn't find out until much later. It didn't matter. She wasn't part of my life anymore. At the end of the year, after the craziest work season, I finally took that vacation. I went back to the same small town in Italy. The day I arrived, I just walked. No plan, no destination, no itinerary. Just wandering and snapping photos. The town was insanely beautiful. Every shot looked like a postcard. I'd never felt that calm. I photographed vaulted church ceilings, pigeons mid-flight, cobblestone streets, strangers' faces. I lowered my camera and froze. A familiar face stood there. It was Maya Reed. She came up to me with a smile like it was nothing. "I didn't know you were a photographer, Ethan." She said my name so casually, like we'd been tight forever. That weird feeling I'd had earlier crept back in. Maya, I replied, keeping my tone chill. Crazy coincidence. You on vacation too? I am, she said, her eyes lighting up. But I'm not here for the views. I'm here for someone. My eye twitched. If I'd had any doubts before, yeah, not anymore. She was into me. I didn't expect that, so I played it cool and changed the subject. I pointed at her suitcase. So, where you staying? I can walk you to your hotel. Thanks, Ethan, she said, handing me the bag. Then she told me the hotel name. Same one I was staying at. I paused for a beat, then grabbed the suitcase and started down the cobblestone street with her. We walked in silence. Back when we were just business partners, small talk would have been easy. Work stuff, no problem. But now the quiet felt heavy, like it had weight, and that short walk felt way longer than it should have. I wasn't looking to jump into another relationship. Still, her words, even though they hinted at something more, weren't a straight-up move. It would have been rude, and kinda dumb, to shut her down over something she hadn't actually said. Maya, though, wasn't nearly as calm as she looked. The second she'd found out where I was, she'd impulsively booked a flight. Now she was stressing that she'd come on too strong and might freak me out. She suddenly felt this huge need to explain she wasn't some full-on stalker, even though, yeah, she technically paid someone to track my travel plans. She opened her mouth to explain, then shut it again, scared she'd just make things worse. The silence got awkward fast. She mentally cursed herself for that impulsive comment earlier. This cobblestone street seriously felt a mile long. Then her phone buzzed, finally breaking the tension. Maya grabbed it quick. It was just the hotel confirming her reservation, but somehow the usually sharp, efficient CEO dragged the call out for a full 5 minutes. Only when the hotel came into view did she finally hang up. I'm here now, thanks. Her room was on the second floor, and I carried her bag to the door. If you need anything, just let me know, I said before leaving. She thanked me with a nod. She went into her room, and I headed back out with my camera. That evening, when I came back to the hotel, I spotted Maya in the lobby laughing with a group of women, a glass of white wine in her hand. I hesitated, then decided to slide into a booth instead of heading straight to my room. Foreign country and all, I felt kinda responsible making sure she was okay. After turning down a couple of tourists who tried their luck, I started scrolling through the photos on my camera. Photography was one of the few things I truly loved. Then a sweet, fruity scent drifted over. I looked up and saw Maya smiling down at me. The wine had definitely loosened her up. She rested a hand on my shoulder and leaned in close. Ethan, she whispered. I figured she was tipsy. I'm not drunk, she said, like she'd read my mind. I'd never normally drop my guard like that, but a little wine has a way of making tough conversations easier. I knew where this was headed, but before I could stop her, she said it. I don't know if you're happy about your divorce, but I am, because she trailed off, just smiling. Years ago, when my parents died and I was completely broken, Chloe was the one who reached out and helped me up. After that, she was the only person I could see. What I never realized was that every time the bullying got bad, a teacher would suddenly step in and shut it down. It was always because a quiet, shy girl named Maya had gone to get them. She'd watch me from afar, too scared to approach, and missed her shot. But fate, apparently, decided to give her another one. Maya. I started, trying to clear things up while she seemed lost in her thoughts. She gently pressed a finger to my lips. I know what you're going to say, she said, her eyes crinkling with this bright, genuine smile. Don't feel pressured. I'm just putting myself on your radar. If and when you decide you're ready to date again, I want to be the first person you think about. Of course, she added with a wink. I'm not wasting 8 years like you did. I'll give you 3. If you're still not ready by then, I'm out. 4 years later, Maya and I were married. On our wedding day, I noticed Chloe standing quietly in the corner of the church. She watched us say our vows, then slipped away without saying a word. I saw her leave, but my eyes quickly found my new wife again, my heart filled with a calm, steady warmth. Chloe never returned to the States.